Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Doggett, and I'm from the Maryland Department of Disabilities Assistive Technology Program. And welcome to our presentation today on Chromebook accessibility. So today, we're going to explore the accessibility features that are integrated in Chromebook and also look at some beneficial extensions that can help support students in the classroom. Before we begin, let's cover a couple of quick housekeeping items. First, we do have live captioning available for today's session. In order to enable it, please go to your Zoom toolbar. You should see a closed captions option there. Also, this webinar today is being recorded and will be posted to our YouTube channel once it is available. And lastly, we encourage any comments or questions. I'm going to do my best to be mindful of the chat and the Q&A. So if you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and throw those in as we go. Although we do have a lot of content to get through, so I want to try to move through that as quickly as possible. Okay. So in today's webinar, we're going to be looking at both the native accessibility features found in Chromebooks and also look at a selection of helpful browser extensions specifically to be used in Chrome. For the built-in features, I'm going to be organizing them based on how they might help or operate with certain disabilities. Many of these programs can be used for a range of disabilities, however, so keep that in mind as we go through these. I'm actually today using a Chromebook to help me with my presentation. So I'm actually presenting on a Chromebook today. So I might be going back and forth between my slides and then just the desktop. So hopefully I won't be too clunky while I do that. But that's to help sort of show, exactly where these features are and how you can locate them on your end. So to get started, let's start by talking about what exactly a Chromebook is. Chromebooks are cost-effective laptops designed to be very simple, fast, and affordable. They're engineered to perform most tasks online, and instead of downloading files, they store them in the cloud, similar to like Google Drive. So rather than using traditional software, Chromebooks utilize web applications and extensions. So this makes them an excellent tool for students because they're both cost-effective and fast, but they also work as great everyday browsing or streaming platforms. So as I said before, we're going to start talking about the built-in accessibility features in Chromebook. I will say that before you start looking into all the different types of browser extensions, get to know these features first. These built-in tools tend to be a little bit more stable and are like natively designed to work with Chromebooks. So I always recommend starting with those first when you're looking for accessibility features. So to locate those accessibility features on the Chromebook, it's very easy to get to. So you go down to the status tray, which is on the lower right-hand corner of the screen. Or if you like keyboard shortcuts, you can select Alt plus Shift plus S. And so I'm going to do that on my screen so you can see here. So down here, this is the status tray. And so this is where you will go from there. From here, you can select the settings icon. As the settings is loading on my screen. And you can access the accessibility settings either by searching for it at the top, so starting to press accessibility, or they are on the left-hand side. Either way, you can access them there. And so what I like to do is, so right now this is enabled that says show accessibility options in quick settings. And when this is enabled, if I go to my status tray, I can access my accessibility settings very easily right from here. So I can turn anything on, toggle things off. One thing to note though is, from the accessibility settings here, all you're doing is turning them on and off. There are certain settings that you might want to adjust. And for that, you would have to go into the accessibility settings page to do so. Okay, so This is how we access our accessibility settings. So let's start off by talking about some of them in more detail, starting with the display and vision features. So I'm going to take a look here, and I'm going to show this to you, on the Chromebook itself. There's going to be a couple of things that may not go through all the way on the Zoom. So, well, when we get there, we'll talk about it. So the first section that I want to talk about is screen magnification. So obviously this is for low vision users. With Chromebooks, you have the ability to magnify both the entire screen all at once, and you can use your cursor to sort of pan around, or you can use what's called a docked magnifier, which magnifies just a portion of the screen. So I want to demonstrate both of those for you so you can sort of see how they work. So I'm going to go to display and magnification. And let's start with the full screen magnifier. I think this will show up on your side. Yeah. So as you can see, my entire screen has been magnified. And the way I'm able to navigate from one end to the other is by sort of dragging my cursor, and it will take me to the bottom, and I can go back up to the top. This is great because it will show you all the content that you need all at once. I will say sometimes navigation can be a little bit tricky. And so like right now, I'm trying to navigate back here so that I can turn full screen off. We do have options to move the screen continuously as the mouse moves, or we can keep the screen, move the screen, keeping the mouse at the center. So some of those options, you should experiment with those options and see what you prefer. So I do see a comment here from Virginia. I'm not sure if it's only on my screen, but it is very blurry. Okay. We just want to get a check if it's blurry for anyone else. It might be an internet connection issue. It's blurry for me too, Aaron says. Okay, well, maybe that's something on my side. Let me see if, is it still blurry currently? Yes, all right, let me see if changing my sharing settings might fix this. Thank you for letting me know. All right, so that's entire screen. Let's do, one moment, please. All right, so it's definitely some on my end. Give me just a second. All right, how is this? Is this less blurry? Very small fonts. Okay, well, still pretty blurry. Okay, well, this fortunately might be a connection issue on my end. So let me see if there's anything I can do about that. All right, well, I will do my best to have us go through that. One thing I will say is I will be posting the slides after the fact. So even if you're not able to follow along necessarily when I show you the parts on my desktop, the slides will sort of guide you through that as well. Okay. So sorry about that. Let me pull my screen back up. Oh, you know what else I'm going to do is I'm going to increase my text size. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Use some of these accessibility features. Hopefully that will help a bit. Okay. Thank you, folks, for sticking with us as I navigate this. Okay, so we just talked about our different types of magnification. So we have our full screen magnification and our docked magnification. Another aspect that is actually I'm using right now is you can increase the size of your cursor. And so you might notice that my cursor itself is rather large. So I can increase that size here. And this is great, both for as a visual aid, but also, as you're presenting things, if you're presenting things in a classroom, that will help. I also enable the highlight the mouse cursor when it's moving, and that's where the little red dot is sort of helping me as I go through. Yeah, I see that still a little blurry on your end, folks, and we're just going to have to, go through that together. But like I said, I will have slides available afterwards. Okay, so that's our magnification. I want to move on and talk about Chromebooks. And Chromebooks is the native screen reader used on Chromebooks. So it's designed for individuals with blindness and low vision so that they can interact with the Chrome operating system just by using the keyboard. So instead of using a mouse or a touchpad to navigate, blind users use key commands such as Shift or Shift plus Tab. Tab or Shift plus Tab to navigate through web content. And so Chromebooks will read the content aloud as it focuses on it. So there are other text-to-speech programs that we'll talk about that are used for other reasons, but Chromebooks is specifically used for blind and low vision users. So I'm going to enable Chromebooks on my side so that you can all sort of get an understanding of what that's like. And I think for some reason, if I share my system audio, it won't let me use my microphone. So I'm going to just toggle between those two real quick. Having a fun day today with our technology. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and enable the Chromebooks, and I'm going to sort of tab through the content so you can get an idea of what that's like.
Alert. Enable verbose description. Announce. Speak. Audio. Chromebook.
All right. Not sure if you were able to hear that on your end. I wasn't able to hear it on my end, which is interesting, but having a lot of fun today. Anyway, like I said, Chromebox is the specific tool used for navigating web content when you're blind. Okay, another one in terms of visual tools. So color inversion is a feature that automatically turns light screens dark and turns dark screens light. Some users find it easier to read lighter content in darker backgrounds. Sometimes this is called dark mode, but you can access that in the sort of the same area. So we've got color inversion and color correction. Both of these, I believe, if I share it on my side, you won't be able to see it. So, but just wanted to let you know that those are available. Okay. Oh, good, Aaron. You heard it read a couple of items. Okay. Yeah, I could not hear it at all on my end. So, um, okay. Thank you for that. Okay. So I'm trying to go through these as much as we can so we can cover everything. The next section is going to sort of feature cognitive and spoken feedback features. And so this can benefit a wide variety of learners. So the first we're going to start off with is the on-screen keyboard. And so the on-screen keyboard is just how it sounds. It's a keyboard that you can access just on your screen itself. And so where do you need to go? There's some touchpad. No. So if I enable my on-screen keyboard, I'll have an option at the bottom of my toolbar to select it, and it will now appear on my screen. This is great for users that um, can't operate a standard keyboard and just need to use a mouse to sort of click through. So if they can't use a trackpad or a touchscreen, here's an option for typing. And our next option is something called select to speak. And select to speak is another text to speech option, but it is somewhat similar to Chromebox, but its usage is more so for comprehension and rather than for low vision. And so select to speech, the way it works is once I have it selected, what I can do is I can highlight any text, whether it's on an app or in an article, and it will read it to me. And I'm just going to show you what it looks like. You probably won't be able to hear it on your end. So I'm going to select that. And what's nice about select to speak is that you can slow down the speech, you can speed it up, and it also highlights the words as you go. Next, we also have dictation. Dictation is the opposite of select to speak. It's a speech to text. I have to think that out as I say it. It's a speech to text feature. And when you enable the speech to text, the dictation, for users who are maybe dyslexic or have trouble spelling or using keyboards, they can speak the text and it will type it out on the screen. So let's see if I can demonstrate that for you. I know nothing else has been working super great, but let's see. So I did have a little demo for that. Okay. And so once we have dictation enabled, all I have to do is select the search key and D, and it will start dictation. This is me testing out dictation on my Chromebook. Hey, look at that. There it is. Okay, so we have dictation, and it said everything that I said. Wonderful. So like I said, great for folks with both mobility issues, but also dyslexia, things like that. Okay, moving on. This next section, this next one is not actually something that's found in your accessibility features, but is something very important that and could be very useful in the classroom. And that's something called reading mode. So reading mode is an option in your browser that's designed to sort of help users focus more easily on text. So it accomplishes this by reducing on-screen distractions like images and videos, and really just focuses on the text itself. And so I have a website, Time for Kids, here. this is a pretty good website in terms of reducing distractions here. I'll give them credit. So I can open up this article here. Get out of that pop-up window. Okay, and so I want to read this article, and already we've got a lot of stuff going on this page. I've got a pop-up that's sort of animated here. It's got a video playing. I've got a bunch of other things going on the left-hand side of my screen. I just want to read this article. This is very distracting. So what I'm going to do is at the top right corner of my browser, there are these 3 horizontal dots. And if I click on those and go to more tools, I can access reading mode. And so from here, it takes all of that text, and I could just drag this out, and it just focuses just on the text itself. And so suddenly, all of those distracting things that sort of are grabbing for my attention, whether they're pop-ups or ads or things like that, they're all gone. And so here, I can just focus on the article itself. I also have the option to alter the text itself. So if I want to make the font size larger while reading, I can do that. If I want to change the spacing and do wide spacing, if that sort of helps me read things, I can do that as well. So there's a lot of ways that we can manipulate the text here to make reading articles on our browsers a lot easier. And again, this isn't something that's in the accessibility features of Chromebook. This is actually just in Google Chrome itself. So a very important and very useful tool here for you. So I'm going to go ahead and move on, and we're going to talk about some of the audio features that are available in Chromebook. So I'm going to go back to my slides here. So live caption is an accessibility feature that automatically creates real-time captions for any audio or video that you play in your browser. It's great for, so like luckily we are, we're living in a time now where most video or audio that your students may come across will most likely be captioned, whether it's in Vimeo or YouTube. So that's great. However, sometimes that may not be the case. In that case, live caption is available to sort of automatically create those captions. So it's great for web-based video sites, podcasts, or other audio content. I will say that the quality and accuracy of this feature can vary, and that's based on the audio quality and whatever sounds may also be happening during the audio of that as well. So something to keep in mind, but it's certainly a tool available to help you there. Another option is mono audio. So if you're not familiar, mono audio combines all of the audio elements into a single channel. So a lot of our audio now is in stereo, so it's coming in from different speakers. This is a great setting for users that might be deaf or hard of hearing and on only one of their ears. So this way they can hear all of the audio content, in the one ear that they need it. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the motor and dexterity features found in Chromebook accessibility. And the first one here is called click automation. So click automation is a feature that allows the cursor to automatically click on an object when you stop moving the cursor. So what happens is you can set it up for a certain amount of time, and then once it's frozen there, it will automatically click. So in your settings, you can actually adjust the amount of time that it takes to click something. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so here we have automatic clicks. And so right now, the delay before click is 1 second. So I have automatic clicks turned on. So if I hover over 1 second, it selects that drop down. And so now I could change it. So if I want to change it to 4 seconds, I'm going to move down to 4 seconds and wait. Okay, so now I have 4 seconds before it will turn, before it will click. You can see it thinking there. Great, so we have 4 seconds. All right, I'm going to put it back on 1 and go ahead and turn that off. The next one I want to talk about is sticky keys. You might actually have heard of sticky keys. If you've ever accidentally placed something down on your keyboard and then a window like this on the screen pops up and says, do you want to turn on sticky keys? So sticky keys, what it does is it assists users who might have difficulty pressing multiple keys at once. So if you have a student that wants to use keyboard shortcuts, but has a hard time holding down one key and then selecting another, they can enable sticky keys. And that way, your keys will work sort of like caps lock does, where you sort of toggle it on. So you can toggle on your shift key, you can toggle on your control, and they can access any of the shortcuts that they want to that way. The next option we have here is switch access. Switch access, it allows users with limited mobility to interact with their Chromebook, and they can do this without using a touch screen or a keyboard. So it functions by going through the content and highlighting items on the screen one by one, and the user then activates their switch to select the desired item. So here on the screen, I have an example of a type of input switch that some users might use, but that is obviously something that is not integrated. It would have, that's a auxiliary item that you can use with the Chromebook. But the next feature here, this is a relatively new one for Chromebooks, and it's actually very exciting. So, for any of you that saw that switch access and thought, man, that seems like a lot of difficulty to be able to use that. So for someone that has little motor control of their arms or legs, we now have the ability to use face control. And this is actually, I think this is very cool. And unfortunately, I already know this because I tested it earlier. My Chromebook won't let me. There's some file I need to download, and I keep getting an error. So I'm not able to do this on my Chromebook itself, but it allows the user to control the mouse cursor with their head movements and facial gestures. So obviously, this is for something like this to come native on a Chromebook, this is a pretty big game changer. There have been programs like this before, but never free and available to use on all of these devices. So the way it works is users can move the cursor around just by looking around with their head, and then they can, they can click on elements just by smiling or scroll by raising and lowering their eyebrows. So it's a very, very, very exciting feature that I think is just really, really neat. So also, there are other movements that you can assign. So in the accessibility settings, so if let's say they have an issue, raising their eyebrows, or there's other movements or other gestures that can be modified there in the settings pretty easily. Okay, so those were all of the native features in Chromebook, and again, those are the features that come standard. You don't need to download anything. You don't need to pay for anything. Those come standard on a Chromebook. So very excited about all of those things. So now that we've discussed those, I'm gonna highlight some browser extensions that are available. Again, I want to emphasize that I am dipping my toes into the huge amount of browser extensions available that you can download and use on Chromebooks. So don't feel like what I'm providing for you today is all there is. There are a ton out there. These are just some highlights that I found. And so before we get into some specifics, it's important to understand what a Chrome extension is, or a browser extension. And forgive me if this is not new for you. I want to make sure everyone's sort of on the same playing field. But as we noted, so Chromebooks don't download programs to use. They use web applications and extensions rather than like traditional software. So if you could think of this as small add-on programs, and that their sole purpose is to like add a new feature or capability directly to your browser. So they're not standalone programs, but they're enhancements that integrate with the browser itself. So if there is a specific browser extension that you want to get, you can access that through the Chrome Web Store. And what happens is you can search for that extension, click on the blue Add to Chrome button, and a pop-up window will ask you to confirm, and you will click Approve, and then voila, you have a browser extension installed into your browser. And so to manage or enable those extensions, at the top right corner of your Chrome browser, there's a little puzzle piece icon. So from that puzzle piece icon, you can view, enable, or manage your extensions. So I have a screenshot of that right there. But if I click on it, I have a full list of my extensions. Actually, this is not a full list. This is just a couple of them. But if I want to look at all of my extensions, I can click on Manage Extensions and get to those there. Okay, so let's talk about some extensions you can use with your students, or yourself with your Chromebook. And again, with all these, it's important to try them out and see what works best. A lot of them have similar functionality, but at the end of the day, what's important is that the end user feels comfortable using it. So if a certain extension doesn't work for you, there's something out there that has similar capabilities that might work better. Okay, so let's start by talking about Read and Write. Read and Write, if you're not familiar, is a very powerful extension with tons of great features. First, it has text-to-speech, which we talked about, like I showed you in the native accessibility features. We have that ability. But what's different here is that when in Read and Write's text-to-speech, you have the ability to both highlight the word that is being spoken, but also color the sentence in which that word is being used. And so this is a great way to sort of improve focus and reading fluency. It also helps the eye track along with the voice. It also is great when it comes to vocabulary. So it has both a picture dictionary and a standard dictionary. So when students come across a new word, they can instantly see like a visual representation of it and get a text definition. So this is great for English language learners or visual learners who might benefit from that immediate connection between a word and its meaning. Also, for focus, Read and Write also has this screen masking feature, which acts sort of like a digital reading ruler. So if you are familiar with using the reading ruler on paper to sort of help students focus, this isolates a single line or a few lines of text while dimming the rest of the screen. And this is a simple way to sort of reduce visual clutter for your users. It's great for dyslexia or ADHD. So Read and Write has both a free and premium version. So the free version will have less options available. However, there is a full premium version available for teachers. So that's a really great opportunity if it's something that, that interests you. And so I will say for each of these web extensions, I'm including the link to the Google Web Store where you can access and download them in all of these slides. So if anything you see here that you're interested in, you'll be able to get when I email the slides later. Okay, the next one is Snap and Read. So we had Read and Write, now we have Snap and Read. And Snap and Read addresses some common accessibility issues that we see often in the classroom. And that is when we have text that is not recognized by computers. So this happens a lot with pictures that have text in them, or scanned forms or PDFs that were not properly remediated. So it uses what's called OCR, which stands for optical character recognition. And so it goes through anything that your computer doesn't automatically understand as text, like a Word document. It will scan an image and be able to identify text within that image itself. So again, great for like scanned worksheets and things like that. So the process reads those images and then we'll read that text aloud. It also does something called dynamic text leveling. So it's not just a dictionary; it actually will simplify words, or put them in. Will update words that your students may not understand or fully comprehend. It provides context for them. So if maybe your students are reading something that may be at a higher reading level than they are used to or can handle, this can sort of help adjust that content for them as well. So Snap and Read has both a free trial and then a paid subscription. This next one is a pretty simple browser extension, but can be very useful in the classroom, and that is Dyslexic Browser. There are a ton of different extensions similar to this. And what it is, first of all, it's completely free, widely available. And what it does is it changes the font on all web pages to the font Open Dyslexic, which is a font that has been developed to help individuals with dyslexia read it better. Supposedly, like some people with dyslexia, when the font is changed to this, they're able to read and comprehend that information better. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like. So I'm going to go back to our original Time for Kids article, and I'm going to enable that on my browser. So I'm going into my extensions, looking for Open Dyslexic, and I'm going to toggle that on. Now, everything looks the same right now. However, if I refresh this page, still thinking. There we go. So suddenly, all of the text, including this annoying pop-up ad, is available in Open Dyslexic. You can see that the navigation pane on the other side, those have been updated, and the article itself has been updated as well. So very useful for your readers that prefer Open Dyslexic. And again, so this is a completely free extension available. Next is a tool called Visor. And this is similar to, we were talking about it with Snap and Read. What this does is it helps with visual overload while reading. So it's a very simple app. What it does is it dims the entire screen except for a horizontal band that follows with your mouse. So again, similar to Snap and Read, this acts as like a digital reading ruler. It'll isolate one line of text at a time and just helps the user sort of guide. What's nice about this is that it's fully customizable. You could change the opacity, change the color, so that whatever makes is easier on your reader's eyes. This is this is a great tool that's available. Has both a free and premium version available. So again, the website will be on all of these slides here. Okay, so this next extension is called Stay Focused, and I'm sure you could probably tell by the name, there's not much subtlety in any of the name of these. This limits the amount of time that you could spend on distracting websites. So you can set a daily time allowance, say 20 minutes for YouTube a day, or anything else that you want. Once that time is up, that site is blocked for the rest of the day. Also helps you be more proactive about blocking specific websites during predetermined times. So if you want a student to block all social media sites between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. on school days, you could do that using Stay Focused. It also provides some reminders and nudges to sort of encourage students to sort of get back to work if they've been watching one too many YouTube videos, and will sort of say, hey, what about what we were doing over there? So this is a tool best for students that struggle with executive functions. So those with ADHD, impulsivity, self-regulation, or just basic time management. So great external support that can be used in the classroom. Again, this one is also free to use, so that's great. Okay, and my last browser extension is one you might be familiar with already, and that's Google Translate. Google Translate is free to use, and obviously is developed by Google, but it can translate any text on a web page without requiring the use to navigate away from that page. So if you have a learner, let's say an English language learner that is unsure about a certain word or phrase, they can highlight that using Google Translate, and it will translate that into one of 134 languages. So another great, powerful tool, and this one again is free to use. So, so those are the browser extensions I wanted to sort of showcase for you today. Again, these are there are lots and lots of other browser extensions. You might already have some that you prefer, but these are those that that I found that I thought were could be the most helpful. So I know we had issues with the blurry screen today, so I do apologize for that. I will, like I said, send out the slides. So if anything you weren't able to see on the screen today, should be more clear when you get the slides back for that. We do have a little bit of time left, so I do want to get a chance if anyone had any questions, or if anyone wanted to wanted me to show or demonstrate anything on my end, hopefully better than I had before. I'm happy to do that for you now. So you can either put your questions in the chat or in the Q&A. I'm checking Q&A right now. Okay, so no questions in Q&A. Okay, great. So Aaron says that they learned about new features that were new to them. So great. I'm happy to hear that, Aaron. I hope these can be useful and beneficial to you all. Again, any other questions for folks? Okay. Well, I'm going to stay on for a little bit in case something pops up and you remember. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And again, we'll have a recording of this along with the slides available for you later this week. So I want to thank you all again, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Vince. Enjoy the beginning of the school year.